My Wealden planning video was published 11 months ago, and were that not already longer than intended, this would have been a short addendum with 2 new images illustrating consequential eventualities. Being instead merely a brief annex deprives it of much of its significance, but benefits from having room for any later additions. On the 27th of October 2015, alerted by the sound of power saws, from my front garden I took this photograph of 2 ladders and 2 men in an oak tree. As severed pieces of the tree were falling to the ground, I contacted Wealden Planning to check whether this was lawful, as I thought the tree had a preservation order on it. Wealden District Council sent me this letter in convenient portable document format. I'll just draw attention to an important statement on page 1 and one of the notes. Dear Mrs. Byford, 10 to 15% crown reduction of number 5 oak trees within Tree Preservation Order, West Ham number 35. Presumably, number 5 oak trees is either planning speak for 5 oak trees, or it means oak trees with trunks within the boundaries of 5 mill villas. I refer to your application and to the subsequent site appraisal by Mr. B. Rainbow. Decision. I now write to notify you that the Council grants consent for the following works only. Crown reduction of number 5 oak trees by 10 to 15%. Reason? Prudent tree care, risk management. We are not told what risk is being managed by this reduction. The Arboricultural Association recognises 3 main types of crown pruning: crown thinning, crown raising and crown reduction. The association starts a paragraph explaining crown reduction, the phrase used by Wealden Head of Planning and Building Control, like this. Crown reduction. The reduction in height and or spread of the crown, the foliage-bearing portions, of trees. The Arboricultural Association's advice as to how such work should be arranged is: reductions should be specified by actual measurements where possible and reflect the finished result, but may also refer to lengths of parts to be removed to aid clarity. For example, crown reduce in height by 2 metres and lateral spread by 1 metre, all round, to finished crown dimensions of 18 metres in height by 11 metres in spread, all measurements approximate. The letter's notes are addressed to the applicant. Note 2 says, you must satisfy yourself that you have all other necessary consents or permissions to carry out the proposed tree works. Only the owner of the tree can give permission for the actual tree work to be carried out. Therefore, if the protected tree does not fall wholly within your ownership, you should ensure that all those who may have an interest in the protected tree have agreed that the work shall be carried out. The trees are in the area of a recently allowed development that is not within the original version or the extended version of the garden of 2 mill villas within which 3 and 4 mill villas were built, and therefore presumably in part of the area which occasioned a notice in a Horsham newspaper as a probably inadequate attempt to find who owned the land and the trees. The second new image that I am adding was captured on the morning of the 26th of November 2015, when a shed was constructed near the northern boundary of my property, close to 2 eyesores, arrowed, for which I think an East Sussex County Council employee named Hall had been responsible. A large metal-sided structure and a shipping container in a field in which that employee was given permission to build 2 bungalows. This result of Wealden planning added 2 more windows to the dozen panes of clear glass overlooking my property, seen here from my dining room, for which Wealden had granted permission. The photograph here, taken from eye level while standing near my dining table, could put one in mind of a hide in a nature reserve. This morning I returned home to a scene that I thought needed recording. In the centre, behind a fence and a hedge, a man with a red helmet and a noisy machine was doing something to a tree. Were East Sussex employees and councillors managing another small step in the destruction of the Sussex countryside? They had already allowed building development on land of apparently unknown ownership close to trees with preservation orders on them, and had allowed pruning of a mature oak in the interests of prudent tree care, risk management. An arboricultural report dated January 2014 had accompanied the planning application. The report aimed to promote the retention of trees wherever feasible and appropriate. The oak T2, the one granted prudent tree care by the authorities, was reported as 9 metres tall, with a trunk more than half a metre across and branch spread towards the planned 2-storey bungalow of 5 metres. The ratings for the tree are in the lower cells in this part of the report's data table. The oak was judged to be in good condition, both physiologically and structurally, with no action required for its management. Could I discover what was happening now? I searched the internet for an East Sussex Tree Preservation Register or a Wealden District Tree Preservation Register that one could check online, but control of access to such data seems to be restricted to council employees. Google Earth's latest capture of the vegetation concerned is of no help in identifying the victim of the power saw, so I turned again to the commendably detailed arboriculturalist's report. Judging by this plan, and the angle from which I photographed the action, the tree which was disappearing seems to be the one which had been given the reference G8. G8 was a field maple, data for which is shown in the lower line of this extract from the arboriculturalist's data table. Its condition was fair, and no action was required on the date of survey. I don't know whether this acer was subject to a tree preservation order, though at 6 metres it was well above the minimum requirement of 3.5 metres in height for species which could qualify. In the final stages of work on the tree, a conversation took place concerning the trunk between the power saw operator and a person out of sight. Not having seen my next-door neighbour at number 15 recently, he often went away. I looked up his property online and discovered that a bungalow was for sale in Blatchington Mill Drive, Stone Cross. The page showed pictures of number 15. This video, uploaded in January 2016, is now being updated as I recently received from Wealden District Council notice of another planning application for this property. I emailed a comment saying that I would reject the application. I started by saying, "The documentation provided by the Council for local residents who have an interest in the latest application regarding this 2-storey bungalow fails dismally to provide the evidence needed to make an informed judgment on the matter." I made a couple of brief comments on the plans. The plans show that the building line would be extended in the direction of an oak tree which is subject to a preservation order.
The householder application form alleges that no tree is within falling distance of the proposed development. If I understand that quoted phrase aright, that seems to be untrue. As regards the deficiencies in the documentation provided, I said, the application for the building of 5 mill villas had included a ground plan which showed an area on the south side of the building with a permeable surface to allow water to reach the roots of an oak tree subject to a preservation order. The planned extension is to the south of the building, so its relation to the initial plan needs to be understood. The documentation provided by the council starts with the householder application form, including the "no tree is within falling distance" statement. There is a supposed planning history document with brief details about applications in 1997 and 2014, but nothing about tree preservation concerns in 2014, and nothing about the subsequent application for crown reduction, and a note at the bottom says, "Wealden District Council accepts no responsibility for the accuracy of this information." A heritage statement document asked for a summary history of the site and/or building, including specifically the parts that will be impacted by the proposals. The answer comprised 6 words. Modern bungalow constructed 5 years ago. What did the building look like 2 years after that, in 2014? Google Earth, dated the 24th of July 2014. The trees look to be healthy, but there's not much of a building. The 7th of August 2015 photograph shows the building complete and how closely foliage is to the garage on the southeast corner of the property. A conservatory is now planned to the left of the garage beneath the leaves. This 25th of June 2016 image shows how far the trees have retreated in less than a year. What's been added behind the garage? The current view of the site is undated. It shows space along the southwest side, and an area of grey behind the garage stretches right across the site. The image on the right is from the original application for the bungalow. The amber rectangle representing the area, marked I think as decking, which would allow precipitation down to oak roots. Is the grey stuff permeable? A slightly wider view might reveal where the tree was butchered earlier in this video. So where is the conservatory supposed to go? The cross-hatched square was included in the application, and it goes about here. In my emailed objection to the plan, I said, this 2-story bungalow was included in a dishonest planning application dealt with by the dodgy Wealden Planning Department and approved by the Council on the 20th of March 2014. Further consideration of the plan has not improved my view of the Council. The video is now being updated again to record Wealden's decision on the latest planning application concerning 5 mill villas to add a conservatory on land that was supposed to allow precipitation to reach the roots of a protected oak tree. On the 19th of June 2017, I was sent an email with an attachment. The only message in the email disclaimed legal responsibility for the contents of the document attached to it. Please note, this reply is furnished after appropriate inquiries and in belief that it is in accordance with the information at present available to the officer of the Council, but on the distinct understanding that neither the Council nor any officer of the Council is legally responsible therefor. The attachment was a 3-sentence letter from the head of Planning and Environmental Services which said, "You recently sent me comments on the above proposal, and I now write to advise you that, after considering all the representations received, the Council has decided to approve the above application on the 16th of June 2017, which may be subject to conditions." That sentence is ungrammatical, as it is the approval, not the application, which may be subject to conditions. If you have access to the internet, the decision notice will be available to view online at planning.wealden.gov.uk. That is illogical, as whether the notice is available on the internet is not dependent on my having access to it. It is also pointless, as the web page adds nothing new whatever. Unfortunately, due to limited resources, we are unable to respond to any further correspondence relating to this matter. That is dishonest. The Council's behaviour is a matter of choice, not fortune. Earlier in this video, I reported that Wealden Council had agreed to an application made in July 2015 for crown reduction of number 5 oak trees by 10 to 15%. Reason: prudent tree care, risk management. What does the tree I saw being cared for using power saws look like 2 years later? The conservatory is due to go just behind the white parasol. Is that tree not within falling distance of the conservatory? Or don't Wealden and its councillors bother to read all planning application documents? Or is dishonesty in planning applications not investigated? Or risk management not involved in adding a fragile conservatory so close to a tree that it might be depriving of water? Prudent tree care is not evident here either. What other oak tree in Sussex, protected or not, has a side that is vertical? The protuberances are probably the result of a disproportionate rate of growth in those areas following the tree surgery. The conservatory has now added more windows overlooking the back gardens of 4 single-storey bungalows built in 1998. In the right foreground of the photograph is a corner of the roof of the first of them.